ever wonder how they throw like that? Because I have. The physics of throwing a baseball. Let's talk about that.
Go back to normal.
You know, there's a lot more things that happen to a baseball than people think. Because if you're new to baseball or have never seen baseball, you know, you might think just pitching or throwing a baseball is just huck it, you know. But this is not the case. A lot of things happen to the baseball when it is in the air that includes physics. For different pitches, you have to change your grip, the pressure on the ball, and also the release point. But saying this, you have to also keep in mind that no matter what pitch you're throwing, that you have to have the same arm speed and the same angle. Because if you do not, you give away your whole pitch. So, with saying that, there's different things that affect the baseball in the air. Different pitches. But mainly, the thing that affects it the most is a thing called the Magnus effect, which is when a spinning sphere affects the air pressure around it. The good old four-seam fastball. So the name might stump you at first, because for newcomers of baseball, because the name does not mean that you're holding four seams. Actually, the name comes from when you are throwing a four-seam fastball, the rotation makes it appear to have four seams. You see the four seams. So, when you are throwing a four seam, you want the effect of backspin on the ball, making it appear straighter than most pitches that, or other pitches that you throw. So this is when the Magnus effect takes over, and it is when a spinning sphere affects the pressure around it again. And so the point is that you have more pressure with the backspin on the underneath of the ball, so it continues to go straighter instead of compared to a curveball or a slider or some sort. You want the air pressure to be on top, so it drops. This, you want the air pressure to be on the bottom, so it's straighter and harder. So this is definitely the hardest pitch, or the easiest pitch to throw for beginners. And all it is backspin of the ball, and this is where all the other pitches are formed upon. This is your baseline of all the other pitches.
That's it.
The good old cutter. The cutter is a fastball that cuts towards the pitcher's glove side, which is different than a normal fastball, because a normal fastball is more straight. Then once you add a cutter, and then it gives a fastball movement, and it's in between a fastball and a slider, because it's faster than a slider, but it has movement like a slider. So, but it's a little slower than a fastball, so it's in between those two. And then you do this by changing your grip. Instead of having your fingers a little spread apart, put them more towards together, and then instead of the opposite motion of a changeup where you go inside, you will go outside, and then this affects the air pressure and the different things that affect the baseball. So the good old curveball. You might know this pitch from Clayton Kershaw's nasty curveball. But anyways, this is actually takes advantage of the Magnus effect even more than the fastball does. Because instead of creating backspin, you will have topspin, which makes airflow more on the top and makes it go down in a dropping motion.
This is where I move. because he's aiming for me.